Where do you live?
Excited.
Oh, we Ulysses.
Yes,
Ulysses, very nice to see you here. We are live now, my brother.
man, we are
and
alive and in effect.
yeah, man. And oh, let me say thank you for accept this invitation to be here on Open Studio, drums conversation that we are doing every week at the Wednesdays. And today, people, we have this amazing drummer that I have to tell you, guys, I'm impressed because I know your music for a long time, and I love your music. I love your playing. I have that record with Christian McBride, that trio.
Thank
That
you.
is amazing. Ding, 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 ding,
Ham hocks.
man, that's amazing. But I was impressed. I start to read something in your website. Man, I think you don't have time to sleep because you do too much good things, and you are so young, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Ulysses Owens here. Clap your hands for this amazing drummer, amazing musician. Thank you, brother,
Thank
for
you,
coming.
man. I'm so honored to be able to speak with you. I'm such a fan of yours, man.
Oh
Seriously,
man.
my favorite music is, aside from jazz, is Brazilian jazz music, man. And just to be
Oh.
able to sit with someone like you it's an honor. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for that, man. Thank you for this attention with your music. Oh, thank you so much. And then, I don't know where do you live? Where are you talking now?
So I am actually in Jacksonville, Florida. Edu, I've been in New York for almost 20 years, but as of about maybe middle of last year, about November, I decided to get a place here because I have a foundation here with my family for kids.
Yeah.
It's about 12 years old, so I have a place here in Jacksonville with my family, and I'm really honored to be here. And then I still have a little small place in Brooklyn, but I've been here in Florida since probably about March. When everything started happening with the pandemic. So I'm loving being in the sun, and but I'm trying to stay indoors a lot because there's some craziness happening in Florida right now. But that's where I'm
Yeah.
currently.
Y-
So,
Yeah. And that is something that I really want to talk about. That foundation that you did. That there is some that there is the beautiful words that I wrote. I read that you wrote that
thank
because
you, man.
you said that you travel around the world to play to make music,
Yes,
and you always see a lot of foundation that help people to
yes,
get more music, to get more culture,
yes.
and you decided to do your own foundation for that. Could you talk about that insight that you have to bring music for people, and what you do in this
Sure.
foundation?
Well, I always say, man, for me, I grew up in church, right? The way that I got exposed to music was playing in the church, in the gospel church. So I always
Hmm.
understood that music was very much to be connected to a higher power. I also grew up in a family that we gave to a lot of people. My grandmother even had a home where people could always come and get a hot meal, and she would take care of people. So the idea of service has just been embedded in my life for many years. However, when it pertained to opening Don't Miss a Beat, I actually went to Costa Rica with Juilliard many years ago on tour, and we played at a community like cultural center. So I always had it like embedded in my mind, man. If we have an opportunity to open something in Florida, I wanted to do that. So anyway, I graduated college in 2006, came back to Jacksonville because I didn't have any work, and my family and I said, hey, this is the time to start something. And so we knew we wanted to work with children because at the time crime was really, really high, which it still is now, but it was even higher, and it was really happening amongst children of color. So we decided to form Don't Miss a Beat, man, and here we are 12 years later, and it's really making a great impact in the city. And one of the things as a musician, it's really important for me to play, but then to have some purpose behind my playing. And so now when I play, I'm playing for my kids, I'm playing for those in the community, and it just makes what I do way bigger. Because I think before, when I was just pursuing being a jazz musician, it was very selfish and it was very kind of self-absorbed in that it was all about me, 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 me. Now that I'm doing this work with the kids in the community, it allows me to really figure out how do I make this art make sense and make impact to a greater and larger audience. So I love it, man. I always say being a musician is my purpose, and I love it. But this new work is my life's work. So I'll do it for the rest of my life.
Man, that's amazing, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and the word that has to say thank you for do that because we need that. We need not so selfish people to do
Yeah.
something for the other. That is amazing. That is
Thank you.
something that we need more and more and more and more in all the world. Oh,
Yeah, and also I think too, like in this new, I was just talking to someone yesterday, in this new age of everything that's going on in New York City, where a lot of people are leaving. As much as I hate the reason, and I hate that a lot of people are leaving, I do think that it's going to affect the music positively, right? Even look at why we're here with Open Studio Network, with Peter Martin being in St. Louis, and I think the more musicians and you in Brazil, like the more we take the art and the love for the music and we put it in different places around the world, it then creates a larger community. So I think that also is another part that will be helpful.
Actually, Peter is here.
He's
let's
here.
Say
Oh,
hello to Peter.
What up, Pedro?
It's Pedro. Yes, that's Pedro Martins. And then is here. I think they have something to say to us. I don't know.
Oh, is Peter gonna pop in?
And then Martin. They are not brothers, but they have the same surname.
They are brothers. I think they are.
Yeah, maybe. Dan is saying that Don't Miss a Beat is awesome.
I love it, man. Dan and Peter, they've always been so supportive of the work we do at Don't Miss a Beat, and they've been so supportive of me, and I know of you, man. They're really one of a kind. What they're doing is special. So.
Yeah, man, they are doing special. And actually today, I was checking the course that you have in Open Studio. That is amazing. And that course with Reuben Rogers, and when you talk about the tempo, and all the course is amazing. They do a wonderful job. And how long do you have your course in Open Studio?
Oh man, I've had it. I want to say for maybe about 2 to 3 years. Dan can correct me if I'm wrong, but probably about 2 to 3 years. And it was really interesting because when Peter and Dan first talked to me about it, I was like, well, first of all, you have at that time, the only one they had in terms of drums was Greg Hutchison. So I was like, man, y'all got Greg Hutchison on your roster. What can I say that Greg Hutchison has not already said? I was like, I've been listening to Hutch since I was 14 years old, but we were able to talk and come up with some things that I think that were reiterated by Hutch, but then also maybe a different approach. I'm a little bit younger than him, so I think there were things that my generation could talk about that were different. But even when I see Hutch now, man, I'm like, I'm nervous, because I just love who he is and what he's doing. And then I was so happy to see your course and just the way that you play and your musicality, man, and your touch on the instrument, bro, is beautiful. I want to steal your hands. I want to get some of that in my playing, man.
I have to say the same. I was saying the same now, man, because it's amazing. And I catch some questions.
Please.
About drumming, because for me, I think for me and for all non-American drummers, it's very good to know about that. And could you talk about that thing that you talked with Reuben about playing on top of the beat, about playing in the middle of the beat, about playing in back on the back of the beat? It for us is a kind of mystery for me. But I think for the Brazilians it's the same, because people say, no, in jazz the bass player play on top and the drummer play behind him, or the bass player play more loose and the drummer could play and has to play on top. And that thing that is amazing in this conversation that you have with Reuben, that for me is something that you just have to make you have to listen to the another one, and you have to do a good conversation. You have to make some deal and so educated. I don't know the word, but so gentleman. Is a gentleman talking. Is that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I always say to people, the bass players that I've had a chance to make one of some of the deepest connections with. Reuben is one. Christian McBride is one. Yasushi Nakamura, even a young student at Juilliard that's in one of my bands, Phil Norris, is really an understanding, right? So with Reuben, what we were talking about is in our opinion, again, this can be argued or debated, but there are 3 different perspectives, right, of playing time when we start talking about swing time, which, I'll play a little bit, right? So you have basic. Is that cool, Edu?
Yeah,
okay,
please.
Cool. So,
man, please.
so with swing time,
I was waiting for that.
Okay. So with swing time, right? This is swing. you're playing swing, a lot of times what you want to do is you have sort of three different perspectives. One, what I will start with is playing in the middle of the beat, right? Where you're just playing right, just smack dab in the middle. And when I talk about the beat, I'm really talking about the beat as it pertains to metronomic time. So if you're, playing, 100 BPM or 120, then you have what would be kind of playing behind the beat. And one of my favorite drummers that I grew up listening to that I think really played behind the beat but in a beautiful way is Elvin Jones, right? So that's kind of the approach would be like this. So I'm kind of pulling back on the beat, right? So if the beat is here, I'm kind of tugging it back. Then you have what's called playing on top of the beat, which is, to be honest, naturally where I feel the beat when I'm playing swing. I kind of always lean a little bit. So that would be kind of like this. So basically, I'm leaning a little forward. Now, the cool thing is, when I always tell the story about when I first joined Christian McBride's band, and Peter was actually on this gig. We were playing at Kumbla Jazz Center in Santa Cruz, California. I remember it's a great place, right? And I remember being we were doing sound check, and so I was just playing, right? I was just swinging, and it was one of the first times I really had a chance to play with McBride consistently. And I remember him getting next to me, and he started walking, and man, it just it felt so great. And it was the only time he ever said anything to me about playing time. And he literally looked at me, and he said, "You sound swinging, man." He said, "Hey." And he just leaned back like that. And I relaxed a little bit. He said, "All right." And we never talked about time again for 7 years.
Just that.
So he was just like.
That's the top of the communication. That's nothing.
And it wasn't an attack, right? And you said it really beautifully earlier. It's an agreement, right? It's a conversation. Is two people being, or whether gentleman or lady, however you want to reference it, is two people agreeing on what we're going to do. And I think what's most important is sitting down and listening. Because if you listen to a person like, whether it's McBride or Ben Wolf or, Peter or whomever, you want to make sure that you're listening to what they're doing. And if you listen to their information that's coming off of the bandstand, you should be adjusting. So that's what I love to talk about a lot when it comes to playing time together. But I think it's also important not to be so rigid. Even though I play on top, there have been times where I played with bass players where they're also on top. So then I may relax a little more so that the beat can be more settled, So anyway, I could go on and on about that.
Yeah, and is that it happens with the bass player, but happens with all the
everybody,
band.
Right?
And the soloist and the way that he make clarity with his melody and his solo and put you in front, on top, or back to the tempo. But I have a question here. When you did on the top, I realized that you are feathering. When you did in the middle, you still feathering. But when you did behind the tempo, I have the impression that you are not. Are you not feathering?
Yeah. So that changes. Edu, that's such a great point. So it's interesting. Someone asked me a while ago because I have the lessons with Open Studio Network, but then on my Instagram page, I also post a lot of different, like what I call 60 seconds with you. And I talked about feathering. And so feathering for me is I use it in certain kinds of swing. So when I reference Elvin Jones, to my knowledge, and a lot of the records I checked out, he was not a person that feathered, right? He accent, and he really used the bass drum in kind of this polyrhythmic way. So that's why I didn't feather. But there are ways, like, for instance, I can play on top without feathering. I could, like a Tony Williams kind of thing, So I can do that. So I think the goal, I always say people, feathering to me is a really great tool to understand how to do. You have a lot of drummers, especially modern drummers of my generation, who want to completely ignore it. I don't think we should do that, but I also think it's great to know how to not feather and be able to be independent with the limbs and the bass drum and the hi-hat.
Yeah, man. So. Great.
What about man? I know you wanted to ask me some stuff, but I have to ask you the same thing, Edu. Like, what is your perspective of playing on top and in the middle And behind, like with Brazilian music, like is there a contrast with that as well?
Yeah, of course, it's the same. And for me, we can play a little bit more, thinking about the 16 notes and playing on top of
Yeah.
like that, nah? Or you can play a little bit more looser with the 16 notes like that. And the difference for us is just is about this thing. Oh,
Ah,
the tempo starts the same, but you can make more relaxed the subdivision. And depends about the bass player, about
Yeah.
the melody of the music.
Yeah.
Some drummers like to play just like that.
ah,
It's almost a triplet, but you can broke the 16 notes like that too. But
Man.
I think we can play on the top of the subdivision. And sometimes you can relax more. And it's the same for the different rhythms. I just playing samba because it's the first rhythm that came from my heart,
right.
my mind. But if you think about kind of baião that you have that,
Ah,
and you can make this movement with the subdivision. I think that is more from this sensation that subdivision could give for us. But
that's great.
it's the same conversation. It's the same thing. We have to listen the bass player. We have to listen the percussion player because we have a lot of different instruments playing together.
Yeah.
And it's just that we have to feel. I used to play with a bass player that is Paulo Pauleri. Actually, Paulo
Okay.
Pauleri is on Open Studio 2 with BRS Quartet,
Yeah.
and he plays always on top. And it's
Wow.
good to me to play that. We
Nice.
have to make a conversation.
Absolutely,
and-
man. I love it.
Yeah, and different bass players as Bruno Migotto that plays more behind of the tempo, and I love that difference between musicians. I love
Absolutely.
that yeah.
It's really important, you know, and like you said, it all goes back to conversation, and it's funny because when as you as well, like when I go to different colleges or you know, and I talk about you know time or whatever, that becomes one of the biggest arguments, you know, and it becomes very aggressive, you know, or people become very aggressive and assertive because they're like, well, this is right and that's wrong, and I don't believe in right or wrong. I believe what's right is let's play together. You know,
Yeah.
and the more
Yeah.
and the quicker we can play together, we can make this thing feel good and make it great for everybody else. So.
And I believe in that there is no right or wrong in music. Of course,
Right.
that it's not good or bad,
Yeah.
but you have a taste. You can
Right.
like something and you can don't like something, but
Right.
you have to come to make a conversation with the people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Man, let's gonna see some comments here because people
Yeah.
are doing some questions. Oh,
Yeah, I see.
Backman Ip, I saw the interview with Peter Erskine. Oh, thanks. He's excited for them. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Open Studio. Peter Martin, don't miss a bit something.
Yes.
Uh,
I saw one question where the guy was asking about my time with Christian McBride. He was asking
Yeah,
why
Tony.
it would stop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I can I answer that?
please.
Sure. So one of the things I want to make a comment about, and I'm sure you feel the same way. You never stop playing with any musician, right? there are just times where you work more with certain musicians because of the season that you're both in, or there's times where you work less, right? And Peter
Yeah, the
Martin
same.
is key as well. Like where I work a lot with Peter, and sometimes like I haven't worked with him in a while. So as it pertains to Christian, there have been a period of time where when I was working with him, it was very organic. I started working with him with I think the first thing was actually maybe Inside Straight. With Peter, I was subbing for Carl Allen, and then I started playing more with that quintet because Carl at the time had a major educational position. Then
Yeah.
that band kind of formed into the beginning of the trio, which again Peter Martin was in that first, and then we had the big band. So pretty much after the first couple years, it became very apparent where McBride was like, Ulysses, you are my American Express card. I don't leave home without you. And so pretty much everything McBride did, even when it was not a McBride band, whether it was him recording a film score or doing something with Jazz House Kids, I was part of that, and it was one of the greatest educations that I would ever experience. However, when we got to about the 6th or 7th year, I went to him and I said, McBride, I love working with you, and there's nothing, this is like better than any dream I could have created or been greeted with. I said, but man, I think I'm ready now to like do my own thing and like lead bands, and I've now been like under your tutelage. And he was like, Ulysses, I knew this day would come. He was like, I was just wondering when. He said, you have my full support. And I think that's the true evolution of music, right? It's like you work with someone at a certain point, you spend a lot of time with them, but there's no way you can stand next to a guy like Christian McBride and not be inspired by him. And from working with him for those 7-8 years, I then understood more of what I wanted to do. And I also realized how even things like Don't Miss a Beat in my own band, if I stayed working with Christian, it was going to be hard to grow both of those things. And I'd already spent a really great amount of time with him. So he was like, Ulysses, we'll always play together. I mean, he supports me. He's played on things I produced. He was like, and maybe it's time for us to shift. And again, man, I'm so proud of you. So it was kind of like Big Brother saying, hey, man, you came to me, getting your stuff together. Now you've done it. Go and fly. And that's what I even try to do with different students and people I work with. So that's kind of the short version of it. And again, McBride, I've had a chance to work with Kurt Elling and Nick Payton and so many other people, but that relationship with McBride really grew me up in a certain kind of way musically that I am always thankful to him for. So.
Oh, that's great. And I think when you play a long time with someone, you make some. You learn a lot about him. You learn about his music, about his life, about his way that he think about music,
Right.
and it's good when you change that. You play with another one,
Right.
and you make a mix about that, and you have to live more, to have more experience. When you back to play with
Yes.
him again,
Right.
you are different. You have more experience
Right.
to share that, man.
Right.
I think that in music is we can't just play with the same one for a long time. I think that we have to experience more to
Absolutely.
grow up.
Absolutely. You got to grow, man. And I think that was one of the greatest lessons I saw from McBride. I'm always very cautious because, McBride is such a big personality and also very private, so I'm very careful about what I share. But one of the things that was so great about working with him was watching how much he grew and how hard he worked. Like you talked earlier about how you were like, man, do you ever sleep? And I would have to say I was always a hard worker, but when I started working with Christian McBride, my work ethic went to another level because watching a guy who literally McBride would like wake up in the morning, do interviews, then go to the bandstand, do more interviews, then he'd be writing something, then he'd have a radio show, then after that he'd do a meet and greet. I mean, this guy was constantly going. We'd get off the road, he'd go back and do other things. So he was definitely and continues to be an example of how do you continue to push yourself and grow and never get stuck in a rut. Because I think that's the one thing when you play with someone for a really long time, you get kind of stuck and you get comfortable. And I think the most important thing about being a musician, and particularly a jazz musician, we got to always be growing. That's what the masters
Yeah, great. Great. And then it's sending that the Finding Your Beat is from the October 17.
Oh, great, man. So it's been almost 3 years.
yeah, and Art of Swing, November 19.
Wow.
Uh,
Nice. Nice.
there is Russ Glasson from UK. Hello, Russ. How are you? And please, Ulysses.
Yes.
You talking about your as a leader and your group and you are a composer too.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
do you play another instrument like piano, guitar? How you compose your music?
So I
Or
would say, yeah, I would say being a composer is probably the thing that I need to work on the most because I have the least amount of experience, right? Also being a drummer, though I play piano, I mean, I started playing classical piano when I was about 8 years old. Then I started playing jazz piano when I was probably about 12 or 13. But I stopped pretty much after college, which is probably one of the greatest mistakes I ever made. So when I now go and compose, I do start at the piano, but there's still a lack of language and chordal language,
yeah.
particularly that I don't understand. So it takes me a little longer to compose. I feel more comfortable arranging because I can take information from different pieces and I can kind of understand how I want to change or alter the form. But yeah, I think piano is really important, particularly for drummers, because we start out with just rhythm being our focus. But with piano, you're able to really embrace all those three sort of principles of music, which is rhythm, harmony, and melody. So piano is like my guide. I'd love to be more proficient. It's actually like one of my goals is to take jazz piano lessons again, so I can really understand more about composition.
And but it takes a lot of time. We have to practice every day to play
Yeah,
piano.
so
For
much.
me, it's the same. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm get more close and play more, and stay, go to the road and stay a
Yeah.
long time without playing. And when I'm back, I said, "Oh my God, I have to start again."
Right.
Actually, I was talking with Jeff Hamilton. You know Jeff Hamilton?
Oh, I love Jeff. Yeah.
I was talking with Jeff yesterday, and
Yeah.
we are talking, and I tell him I'm practicing piano now because I
Yeah.
was practicing a little, and he says piano is my first instrument. I
Wow.
start at but he said I start at 5 and I stop at 5.5, and he just make a little.
Wow.
started
So
with
yeah. So
five and
he
five
started,
and
then he said,
Yeah,
"I want to
stop.
move on."
Yeah, I'm gonna move on.
Wow.
And he did hear last. I'm sorry about my bad English because
Man, stop
I can
that.
I can communicate it, but some kind of jokes that I love I can
You're
I
doing a
can
great
tell,
job.
and sometimes I can
You did a
take
great
it.
job, man.
Oh, thank you.
Much better than my
Uh,
Portuguese. I promise.
No, you must talk Portuguese. No, have you been in
I
Brazil
know what
sometime?
mucho obrigado. That's
That's
it.
the best word. That's the only one that you need. And have you been in Brazil, Ulysses?
Yeah, so I went to Sao Paulo many years ago, actually, with Christian. We went there and played a festival called the Bridgestone Jazz Festival in Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
That was many years ago, and then I went back to Rio 2-3 years ago because I wanted to study more. But I really want to go, and I want to go to Bahia, and I would love to come and hang with you, and it would be my honor, man. I've been trying to, like, Juilliard goes every year. I'm like, man, pick my ensemble so we can go. So
Okay,
I
let's
really
gonna
want to go.
let's gonna try to do that on next year.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell Dr.
yeah.
Flag, hey, Bruce has already gone like 5 times.
Yeah. And my doors is open. Please come
Yes.
here. You have a brother here. You have a
thank
place
you,
to
man.
stay. Just came, brother. Just
Thank
came.
you. I will. I promise.
And tell me a little about Juilliard, because
Yes.
I always when I went to Juilliard, I'm impressed with that beautiful that beautiful building and the
Yes.
structure and the high level of the teachers. And Aaron is a very good a friend. Send my best to Aaron Flag.
Oh man, yeah,
he's still
so
there,
great.
no? He's
Yeah,
great, man.
I just talked to him a few days ago, man, because we just started back Monday officially, but it's all virtual, So we started just with our virtual class. But yeah, Juilliard has been great, man. I mean, I would have never dreamed in a million years that they would have asked me to come back and teach. And quite frankly, I was a little bit intimidated when they called, because I was like, man, so many great faculty members are there. But I now have, after 5 years, I really feel like I've kind of found my footing there. And what I love the most is the students are such a high level of talent, man. I mean, even the students that are just walking in day one, I mean, they just all can play their butt off, and they're so gifted, and they're really hungry to learn. So I really enjoy that. And then I think the second thing is and definitely not in this order, but I really love the faculty, man. I mean, there's so much I've learned from Dr. Flagg. Just the other day when we had our faculty meetings, Winton was, obviously a part of the meeting, and he spoke for like about 10, 15 minutes, and it was just crazy, like just his way that he addressed the faculty, man. I was taking notes. I mean, it's like listening to a world-class lecturer, right? So for me, being at Juilliard is great because it's like being surrounded by all these great students and faculty, and so I'm always learning something. And this new school year is going to be kind of challenging because we're starting virtually, and so we're trying to figure out like what we're doing, like how do we really help the student to grow, and jazz, which is something that is so incredibly personal and interactive. How do we translate that and keep the students progressing? So I'm really honored, man. I pinch myself every day that I log in, or every day I'm able to go to the building to be part of that community. And yes, I met you. I told you earlier before we got on, I had no idea it was you that I was meeting. Like, I knew your name, I knew your music, and you were so cool. Like, when you came in, you're like, yeah, how are you, brother? I'm Edu. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, man. Let's do it. And then I leave and I Google you, and I'm like, oh my God, that was it. Like, I should have took him out to dinner. I was so stressed that day.
Yeah. We have to go to dinner.
Yes, we have to
that's
go.
for sure.
Yes, I want feijoada.
Yeah.
Is it feijoada or feijoada?
But not before the gig. Just after the gig.
After the gig.
Not before
At
the
Camparinas.
gig. After the gig, not before. Let me look more in the comments.
Sure.
If there's more question here. Rachel put here for us. Brian posts, are you still playing with Esperanza Spalding? That's for you.
Yeah, so I played with Esperanza like years, I think like once, like maybe years ago. I feel like we may have done like a quick thing together, but I've never played with her regularly. But she is someone that I really admire. My friend Otis Brown, the third, he played with her for many years, and I love his playing, and now she has so many different bands. But I have not had a chance to, but hey, I hope to be able to work with her again at some point.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
And about Kurt Elling.
Oh, that's my main man.
Yeah, someday I was at home, and I use pretty little. I use little the Facebook.
Yes.
And I saw that was a message from Facebook from someone that was not you, was a different drummer.
Yeah.
That they had a concert here.
Yes.
And this drummer in the last time was not able to come.
Okay.
And he asked me to play with him.
Okay.
And man, was fantastic. They are very, very great person, good good guys. They are so. My English is not helping me, but they are so. They make me comfortable with the music.
Right.
You know, we did just one rehearsal, and it's supposed to be a 2 hours rehearsal, but we just played a half an hour, and Kurt said, "Is that okay? Let's gonna play at night." And he
that's
he said, "Is that okay? Let's drink some beer." And he go down in the studio, and we start to talk, and at night we played. Man, it was amazing for me. It was such a great experience. And how is your experience with him, playing with him? I know that you did a lot of things with him. We did the album that got the Grammy and that things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. I mean, I always say to people, Christian taught me how to be a really great musician and to just play my butt off and leave everything on the bandstand. Kurt taught me how to really study music and understand music. Also, how to really formulate my concept of what I want. And like Kurt, I'll say that. And then he also taught me how to build a show. And so, like with Kurt, what was really important was he obsesses over what his audience needs and wants from him. So, we'll spend, a 2 hour sound check, just really thinking about the audience. And then afterwards, I mean, I've never seen anybody that warmed up that consistently every night on the road, no matter what. Like whether we were on a 3-week tour, 6-month tour, like Kurt literally at a certain point, he eats, he goes for a run. We do sound check. He gets in the dressing room. He warms up for an hour and a half. Even if he can't do it in the dressing room, many times my hotel room is like right next to his. I hear him warming up. He talks to his family and he does his show. And so he also taught me discipline. Like he's incredibly disciplined about his approach, and he is so honored to do what he does. And he's also very big on the masters. Like he really is big on like checking out what the masters do, how they've done it, and how he can make that applicable to what he wants to say. So I would say between like Christian, who it was just like baptism by fire, Kurt was probably a little bit more, I would say, analytical and conceptual in terms of showing me how do you build this thing that you want. And the other thing I love about Kurt, he's a family man. So, you know, there'll be many times, I mean, during this pandemic, he's texting me and he's like, man, how are you doing? Or when some of the even political things are happening, he's like, hey, man, let's hop on a call. Do you feel good? Are you okay? Like, he really cares about the people that are in his band, and he treats you like family. So I'm honored, man. I've been working with him now for close to 10 years. So he's a great being. You know.
Oh, great! Actually, when I went to St. Louis to record
Yes.
a part of the course with Helio Alves,
Yes.
and he was playing at the club just across the street.
Oh,
He was
wow.
playing that club.
Oh, yeah, Jazz Bistro.
Yeah, we went there and we hang. Was so nice, man. Amazing.
No, he's great, man. He's such a great singer, too. You know, he's a guy that just, like, really, he always says he wants to be a jazz singer. Like, that is what he is interested in being. So, yeah, I love working with him.
Oh, great. And I saw some exercise that you do, just
Yes.
talking about drum, that you call it jungle. That you
Oh.
said that it comes from Lewis Nash. That
Yes.
have you been? You had some class with Lewis Nash, or you are friends?
Yeah. So when I got to Juilliard in 2001, Lewis was the private drum instructor. I mean, that's the whole reason why I wanted to go to Juilliard. I was excited to obviously work with Wynton, but I had studied Lewis Nash and his work so much. I wanted to study with him. Like, that was what I wanted. So, yeah, that was one of the first things Lewis taught me to do, and I'll do a little bit of it. But the goal with the jungle is basically get everything, like, I'll play soft so you can hear me talk, but get all
Okay.
the limbs playing quarter notes, right? So I got the hi-hat open, bass drum,
Okay.
floor tom, snare drum. So the goal with the jungle is to call out like dynamic ranges and be able to play them, you know, differently. So like, if I said like forte on the bass drum, and then same thing like fortissimo on the floor tom, you know, or same hi-hat. So the goal is to be able to have control over each limb and be able to at any point have the limb be able to play different dynamic ranges, because there may be time, to your point, right?
Yeah.
So I want, like, what if I want my snare drum to make different accents, or if I want my bass drum to be louder, right? So it's all these
Nice.
different things, like being able to have that level of control over each limb, so that whatever the music needs you to do, you can do it. I have not perfected the jungle, but it's something that I still try to work on all these years, man.
I love it that I want to try that. Just give me
Please.
a minute to try that.
Yes.
What is it? What is the tempo? What is the tempo here?
You got so here.
And first with the bass drum.
Yeah, so forte on the bass drum. Yeah. Good.
It's hard to make the contour
Yeah.
of the other part.
And
floor
then
tom.
like yeah, floor tom, like maybe like on the floor tom, yeah. And then maybe forte on the fortissimo on the hi-hat, but keep everything else soft. Yeah.
That's the hardest
Yeah.
part. Oh God. And snare too.
Yeah, that's hard, right?
Man,
And
that's
man,
hard.
and man, Nash, when he did it, he did eighth notes. So Nash was like, so it's eighth notes or 16th notes, whatever. Sorry.
Oh man, that fortissimo with the hi hat.
It's hard, right?
Oh, make my back a little.
But it
you
was
know,
great.
yeah. You know, yesterday at night I was that family stops. I was watching some videos with my son, and I show for him the video tip from with Branford Marsalis and with Lewis Nash.
Oh
man, Kenny Click and play. Man, that he's amazing.
I mean, it's
And-
so yeah, Lewis, man.
Yeah, and he had some kind of flick that he did something like that.
Oh yeah, that's Lewis. Yeah.
Man, that's amazing.
That's Lewis. And then he does the, then he'll do the. He's like, or. That's Lewis, man. That's. Yeah, it's like.
Man, but that was a long time. I saw that for a long time ago, and I rewatched yesterday. Man, it's amazing, man. Oh.
No, Lewis is I had to stop listening to Lewis Nash because I was so in love, or I'm still in love with this playing, but I was still so in love with it that I was trying to copy it. And I remember people being like, yeah, you listen to Lewis, man, that's our man. Then they'd be like, man, you really checking out Lewis, and then somebody was like, hey, there's already a Lewis. What do you sound like?
Yeah.
So I love
it's time
him,
to change. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's so precise, man, and just like, man, I can't talk enough about him.
I never met him.
Oh,
but,
are you serious?
Yeah, I will love if someday we
So
could.
Edu, you have to have him on your
introduce
show. I can connect you. You got to get Lewis. I'll
Man, I
connect
would
you
love
after the.
that.
Yeah, I'll connect you guys. I'll set up a text between the two of you all. Man, you got to have him on next.
Please.
He's also the father.
Oh.
Yeah, he's also the jazz drum father. Him and Tane, Kenny Washington, they have like, to me, they're responsible for like Hutch and Blade and all these great Kareem Riggins, and like even in my generation, like so many of us really look and have listened to Lewis, and he's been that guide for us. So you absolutely got to have him on, man. So I'll connect you.
That in some of these visit that I did in Juilliard,
Yes.
I had to share a class with Kenny Washington.
Oh, he's another one.
And he was so with
Yeah.
his jacket and
Yeah.
he just talked and
Yeah.
there was I remember that some I couldn't remember the name of the saxophone player that he played so in a very old video from
Maybe Johnny Griffin.
Johnny Griffin.
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah, he
Griffin,
played with Griffin
Honey
a while,
Metals on piano,
Yeah.
and was in Village.
Yes.
And man, that video, I had the VHS. That video starts with an unbelievable, impossible tempo
Yeah.
that he plays something like that.
Yeah.
And he has some symbol here. And
Yeah, like, and you know what Kenny, because I studied with Kenny as well. Kenny also it's all wrist. Yeah, it's all wrist.
Like that.
And so like, so it's wrist in every stroke. Yeah.
Three strokes with the wrist.
Yes, 3 stroke. Yes. And so when he's playing those fast tempos, like up, up. So he's doing that. Now I do some wrist, some finger.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. But Kenny is wrist all the way, man, all the way.
Man, that's impossible.
I've seen him do it, and yeah,
Wow.
and
Four
quiet.
bars.
Yeah, right.
Quiet. I can do it. I can do that for 4 bars, 2 bars. That's okay for me.
You and because when I saw him with and I even played a little bit with Bill Charlap. And Bill Charlap, you know, has such great dynamic contrast. And man, when they're playing those really up tempos, man, they're playing like, you know, they're here like, I mean, like really soft, man. It's crazy, you know.
No.
So yeah, that's
And
that other level.
That day in Juilliard, he plays. He bring pensativa from Clash
Oh.
Schiffer for people playing because
Yeah.
he knows that we're gonna talk about Brazilian music.
Right.
And in the end of the show, in the end of the class, I asked him. I say, Mr. Kenny, can I ask some question for you? And he was ready to go.
Yeah,
And he said,
yeah.
"Oh, of course." And
Yeah.
I asked him about the feathering because
Yeah.
we don't have that culture here. And man, he take off his coat, he sit down, and he spend 1.5 hours talking about music with me. He was so
Oh my
gentle.
God.
Oh man,
He for me, have you had him on your show yet?
in his
Have you had him on the chat? Have you had him on your?
no
opens?
no
Oh man,
no, but
you have to. He is the jazz drum historian.
we have to do two
Yes.
Lewis Nash and Kenny.
Man,
And
because Kenny is the guy that like to me can walk you through the history of this music and drumming.
And
You know.
and you have to come together to make the
Oh
the,
please,
the,
I'm
the, the
gonna be sitting there
presentation.
like this, making no.
No, good.
I mean-
We have to bring the special. That you have to make this contact, man. Please.
Oh,
would love
man,
to
I'll
do
do it
that.
as soon as we get off the chat,
Yeah.
man. I'll make that contact because Lewis, you know Kenny, so you could do that. But Lewis, man, and he's such a wealth of knowledge and very spiritual, and so much of what Lewis does and plays comes from this very deep place. He's brilliant, man. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, great. Oh,
Yeah.
Zach Meja said,
Yes.
"What are the most important things you have done to propel you into success as a drummer?" What is first? I have one question about
Sure.
English. What is propel?
Oh, propel is like move you forward. So like
Okay.
grow, like yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Helio is in here, man. Helio Alves.
Helio is in here. Oh
Yeah.
my
What up, man?
God! Hey, Helio.
That's a bad cat there, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer his question about like what do you do to propel your career? What are some things that I've done? I would say the first thing is I'm really disciplined, right? Like I'm incredibly disciplined about what I do and how I do it, and it's separate from the reward. So in other words, to make it a little clearer, like I'm not disciplined about playing or practicing because I want someone to hire me. I'm just disciplined about it because I believe in the music and I believe that the music deserves that. So I think that discipline and my ability to do a lot of different things from a disciplined place and be focused has been incredibly helpful to my career. Another thing is I'm incredibly open and I'm very big on constructive criticism. Someone can tell me how to do something better, and I don't think that I've ever gotten to a place in my career where nobody can correct me. You know, I was on the phone just the other day actually with a really great singer, Jasmine Horn, who is a friend of mine, and she and I were having a conversation about that. Like we were both just saying how even though we've been blessed to have some really cool career opportunities, we are still students. We're always students. So I think that's a really key thing is to make sure you're a student. And then I think the other thing is I'm always clear about what I want. Like, and to me, success is the ability to take whatever it is that you are passionate about and do it on a level that, you know, sustains you, or you're able to, you know, make a living or whatever. And I think the way that you get to that is really about, you know, as I said, the constructive criticism, but also being clear about what do you want. And many musicians I meet, they don't know what they want, right? They want to kind of exist. And I think the more that you have an idea, it helps. So for instance, when I moved to New York, my first goal was I wanted to be the next Lewis Nash. I was like, I had read an article about Lewis in the New York Times. New York Times had done a really great piece on him, Mulgrew Miller, Christian McBride. It was called something like the most in-demand sideman. And I think Nate Chinnon had done it. And I read that article. I could, this is before the internet. Somehow I found it. I cut it out, and I was like, that's what I want to be. I want to be Louis Nash. And I moved to New York. I studied with Louis Nash, and that was what I pursued. So anyway, I think those are some key things that can help you, propel yourself. So really making sure you're disciplined, making sure that you can receive, constructive criticism, be open, and then, be clear about what your goals are. Those are just a few things I think that have helped me. So.
Great. and Maria Cecilia Lunenberg, he's from São Paulo. He's one of my students, and he's saying that you are her hero. You,
man, thank you.
And send a huge, I don't know if you say it in America, a huge hug, my blessing.
Oh yeah, hug, man. Yeah. Well, we can't hug right now, but we can virtually hug with face mask on.
Yeah. And Osmaro Marinho, tudo bom, Osmaro? Obrigado por você falar isso aqui. I'm just a little Portuguese to say hello to people, o pessoal aqui que fala português. Obrigado por vocês estarem aqui, hein? Obrigado, Osmário. Tony, thank you, Tony. What you say about Kurt sounds wonderful. Yes. Excellent. There is more question here. Helio Alves. Hi, guys. Actually, yesterday we have on the all the platforms, music platforms, the album that we recorded for Open Studio. Helio Alves, Romero Lubambo, me, and Reuben Rogers.
Oh man.
And
I gotta hear that.
Yeah, man. And after that, you told me that what do you think about that? I would love to.
Man, tell me this, Edu. I have a question for you. How was that playing with these great musicians, and then Reuben, who isn't necessarily obviously Brazilian, but I'm sure you guys played some Brazilian music. How is it for you, being such a master of this music and working with other musicians that are good musicians but may not be a master at that? Like, how do you?
Man, that
gel with them.
For me is something that I always feel that when I play jazz with American musicians, and I'm not trying to sound like you. Of course, I love your sound. I love the Art Blakey sound, Louis Nash sound. I took a lot of ideas from that. But I know that even I talk a very good English that I don't have, I still have in an accent. And for me, in the language, the accent is something beautiful. Something, and I think in the music has the same. So when you play with some musician like Reuben Rogers, that's a wonderful bass player, one of my idols. First of all, I have to be more comfortable. No more nervous to play with some idol as him, but I just think what he brings for our music. We have to do music, not Brazilian music or jazz music or any kind of that. And we have to be open to talk about that. We have to be open to play a little bit more on his time, or to talk to ask him to play more at my time. And I love when it happens. I love to play with foreign musicians that know Brazilian musicians, because I learn a lot about that. And that was thing that I love. Bring what you have. Don't bring what you have for this music. And let's do a different kind of music. But man, he's important. Great. He's amazing.
He's great, man. I love playing with him.
The sound is amazing.
I mean, it was interesting because after playing with McBride for so many years, you kind of get spoiled, right? And so like every bass player you play with after that is very hard for them, because you've had the Bentley, right? When I started playing with Reuben, it was the same experience for me. It was like, wow, like I've had a chance to play with McBride, who was very different, but Reuben to me was on the same level of virtuosity, and his ability to play in an ensemble. Like his playing brings everybody together. It's really powerful, like the way he unites people with the notes that he chooses and with his touch. And he's phenomenal. And he's also a big brother, so I love him dearly. So.
And something that is so easy to play together. Even we never met before. I met him in Japan with Peter. I went to Japan to play I think with Helio.
Oh wow,
And we
okay.
went to Cotton Club, and Peter was playing with his trio.
Oh, was
Hutchinson,
it with Ruben and Hutch?
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
And
nice. Yeah.
that was the first time that I met Ruben. But when we start play together, that
Yeah.
there's we don't have to make a big deal. It's
Right.
easy to play together, man. That is something that happens in music.
Yeah.
You could find someone that you never play together, and when the time that you start to play,
Right.
everything happens good. You don't
Absolutely.
have to put holes and nothing that.
I
That's
love it.
amazing.
I
That's
love it,
amazing.
man.
Hey,
Yes.
Ulysses,
Yes.
please talk about a little about your book, man.
Oh,
I know
sure.
that
Sure.
you just released it maybe last year. You released
No,
it
no,
then?
no, no. It came out officially in like April. I think it's April. I have it somewhere here. Oh, it's over there. It's far away from me, but I have to grab it. I want you all to see it. I just need to make sure I know where it is. Well, I can't find it for right now.
No
Anyway,
problem.
it's oh, here it is right here. Perfect.
Okay.
Jazz Brushes for the Modern Drummer. And
That's
I'm
beautiful.
so excited about it, man. It is a really good book, and I'm not just saying that because I wrote it, but it has a lot of really great. I'll even flip through a couple things for you all. My goal in this book was to create something that, first of all, was about timekeeping. It's kind of the opening page. It's about timekeeping,
Wow.
and this is actually the first guy, Ricky Kirkland, who taught me about the brushes, and I kind
Wow.
of tell that journey. And so the book is three-part. It first is a history perspective where I talk about the brushes, also how they were made. I interviewed Joe Collado from Regal Tip. I also talk about different drum heads here, different kind of brushes that exist. I talk about kind of the manufacturing process, for brushes. Because
Wow.
because I felt like there had never really been a true historic perspective of this music. I have Lewis Nash and Kenny Washington there and there. But one of the things that I felt had not existed before was a book that really explained who created this art form. And I never forget, I started writing the book because of one Google post. I went on Google and I typed I think like the history of jazz brushes, and there was a video that popped up of someone from, I won't even tell you the country, from a certain country, not America. And they started saying things like, yeah, the brushes are a new invention. They started out around the 1950s. And I was like, that's not right. I don't know why. I don't have the history to prove that it's not right, but I know that's incorrect. So I started doing research, and I went back to what I discovered one of the first early recordings of brushes in the early 1900s. And there were all these great New Orleans drummers like Andrew Hilaire and others that Zudi Singleton, that were recording brushes, because obviously, the early phonograph technology could not even handle live drums. So a lot of times
Yeah.
you either had drummers playing on wood blocks or other things, or they were playing on the brushes. So anyway, I wanted to really trace that history and give credit to a lot of those drummers. So anyway, that's the first part, is just the historic element of the book.
Great.
The second part of it is that it is a play along. I felt that a lot of lessons that I've been teaching about the brushes remove the fact that you've got to learn how to play along with a band. So I recorded over 20 tracks with a really great rhythm section in New York for the book. Another part of the book as well is a video coaching element, because again, even once you have the history, the play along tracks, there's still things that you need to see, right? So I have
Yeah.
that in there. And then the last piece that I'm really proud of all of it, but I put this together myself. This list right here is about 5 pages from top to bottom of recordings. And it's
Wow.
recordings of drummers from the early jazz, swing and bebop, and then all the way up to drummers that are even my own friends and my generation that very rarely are getting written about. So it's over 100 of recordings, and everybody's playing brushes. So it was really important for me to really create what I hope to be kind of a brush Bible, not about me or my approach, but about me teaching others about Kenny Washington and Nash and Tane and Eric Harlan and all these great drummers, and then Zudi and Philly Joe and Elvin, and how they really played the craft of the brushes, man. So it's been out. You can get it from howleonard.com. You can get it from Amazon, and I'm hoping to one day get it translated in a few different languages. I've been in talk with some companies in Japan. Hopefully one day we get it in Portuguese. But I'm really proud of it. I did a lot of research. So.
We have to do that in Portuguese.
Yeah, we got to do it in Portuguese.
We have a lot of fans here in Brazil. People are saying hello a lot of times.
Yeah, so we got to do it.
Oh man, congratulations for this book. That's amazing. And
that's
amazing. That research about the history is so serious, so important. Thank you for that. And I was saying that you are talking about playing the brush without the snare.
Oh yes.
Could you tell us
sure.
The reason of that?
So that is from Kenny Washington, man. When I got to Kenny Washington, my first lesson with Kenny Washington, it was like this. I walked in the door, and he says, I want you to play your rudiments. And I said, okay. So he started calling out, single stroke, double stroke, and all that. Then he says, Swiss Army, double paradiddle. He goes down, and I played all of them. He says, man, you're one of the first young cats out here that know your rudiments. It's good. You got to know your rudiments. So we go through all that. Then he says, all right, play some brushes for me. So I sit down, I turn the snares on, and I do this. I'm playing all over the drum, right? He says, stop. I said, okay. He's like, turn those snares off. All right. Turn them off, and so it sounds like this. He says, and he comes over and he takes my hand and he takes my right hand and he puts it in the center of the drum. He says, that's the sound. Papa Joe taught me, Eddie Locke taught me. He's at center of the drum. And he changed my technique. So one of the things he talked about with playing with no snares, when you play with no snares, you're able to really get the sound of the drum, right? When you're playing with the wires on, you're getting the sound of the wires. When you turn the snares off, you're getting the sound of the drum. And it's a much thicker, fuller sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's why I do it. And then adding the hi-hat too. So, yeah.
And please, do you teach that? Do you teach that on your Open Studio course?
There is a whole section for my Open Studio course again, which is called Finding Your Beat. That is all about the brushes. And what's interesting is when I made that course, I was kind of starting to do some research on the book, but I had not even formulated the book yet. But I'm still teaching all of that stuff that Kenny taught me. So everything about playing in the center of the drum, sweeping, counterclockwise, clockwise, all of that is in my course. And then to give him a shout out as well, I know Hutch has a whole section as well about brushes, which I know Hutch comes very much out of Kenny Washington as well. So yeah.
Oh, guys, don't miss that. Don't miss that. And I will go there. Just when I finish this chat, I'm going dig in that. And I don't want to spoil your course or your book, but
no, it's fine.
For me, when you said that we have to play on the middle,
yes.
How can I switch the
You're pretty much there though. I would just so you're kind of doing back and forth. I would just stay right here. I would just try to stay in the same playing area. Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
But the left hand across the
left hand. Yeah, the left hand crosses. You hear the difference?
A little, just a little more.
But it's it's more of a consistent sound. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow!
Yeah.
Thank you for that, brother.
That's Kenny, man, and everybody's different. Like I know Jeff Hamilton. Jeff is more of kind of a sweeping. Playing.
Yeah.
And then you got guys like Adam Nussbaum and Peter Erskine and even Nash. Everybody has a different approach. I think for me, what I loved the most about Kenny's was the sound. I really enjoyed the sound that was coming out. And it was it was kind of a thicker, really thick sound, and I could really hear the influence of Papa Joe and Eddie Locke. I could really hear that. So I love it, man.
Great. I can't stop to do that.
Man, what was that you were doing before? Like you were, what were you doing before?
I was doing that.
But I thought you were doing. Can you show me a samba with the brushes?
Of course. For Samba, we have two different patterns that is the most important.
Okay.
Just for the left hand.
Okay.
We can make some. What is a circle like that?
Yeah. Perfect.
On the on the 8th note like that.
Okay.
Dois,
Ah!
dois,
Nice.
Yes.
And with the hi-hat, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
And for the right hand, we can think two ways, or
Okay.
like the same that you did, but not in the center, in the middle,
Okay.
like that. Just 16 notes.
On the edge. Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And you think about the accent, some pattern or clave like that.
Okay. Ah.
Yes.
That's killer.
Yeah. That.
That's the bossa, right?
Yeah,
Or that's the slow samba, right?
That's the low samba or bossa could be
Okay.
the same,
Okay.
and that works good from the medium tempos or a little high tempo.
Ah.
But when it starts to be a little faster,
Uh-huh.
I love to use that kind of sweeping.
Oh, wow.
Every 60 notes like that. Um e a, dois e a, e a, dois e a, e a, dois e.
Wow, I gotta shed that.
Yeah, and you have to do the same from the left hand, for the right hand. You can do that, but not so. You can take a little bit more off the burst to have this sound, but you have the same movement like that. On e a, dois e a, e a, dois e a, with both hands, like that.
Are you using your forearm with that left hand? Are you doing forearm like that?
No, I'm using more
You
my
use the
wrist, my wrist, more like that.
Wow, that's it.
I'm not
Yeah, that's
using
a lot
my
of
arm.
shed. Yeah, I gotta shed that. That's
Yeah.
killing.
And for the fast tempo, I think is a little softer the sound like that.
Yeah, Edu.
Yeah, and when the tempo starts to be very very fast, we just try thinking about the tambourine clave like that
Uh-huh.
with your right hand, and make the kind of linear things with the left hand like that.
That's so killing. Is that on your course?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm checking that out. That's killing.
Oh man.
That's killing.
Man, that is something that I love. I remember the first time that my uncle is a drummer.
Oh man.
And yeah, my father has a band that plays in ballrooms, and I
Okay.
started with them. And I remember the first time they started to play some party, and there is a kind of maybe a jazz standard, a kind of
Uh-huh.
Alto Leaves, and he took some bursts and started to play, and I said, "Oh my God, what is that? That was
Yeah.
amazing, that sound, man."
That is beautiful. I'm definitely checking that out.
And you know, is there that's a different question, but I've heard a lot a recording from Chet Baker. Chet Baker
Yes.
sings. Do you know this
Yes,
album?
I know that record. Yes.
Yeah, who is the drummer? Because I heard it a
That I
lot.
have to go back and look at. But I know the
Yeah,
record.
I don't have the credits.
Yeah.
I had an LP that my mother has,
Yes.
and there is no the name of the drummer, but I heard a lot that man.
Man. Wow.
That was amazing, man. That
Man, yeah, I
Your
gotta go.
singer.
Yeah, I gotta go back and check that out.
Oh man.
Yeah, all those records, man. So much great information on there. I mean, that's one of the things I talk about in the book as well, and even in the open studio courses, is that you have to go to the records. The records are where the information is. You know, I mean, obviously we have our great, our courses, and we're honored to be able to do that. But if we really want to play this music, people need to get our courses, and they need to check out, all the references we talk about, all the great drummers, and get the records. That's where the information gets exchanged, and that's how you really start building something special.
Yeah. Hey, Chriser is saying, love the book.
Oh,
I'm making my way to listen section, taking
no,
notes.
no. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for buying the book, man.
Sal Alamio is saying Spanish. We have to translate to
Yes.
Spanish too.
Yeah, man. I'm down to get it transcribed into any language possible that people want to be able to read this book in. So just I'm open.
I can translate that for you to Portuguese, but maybe there is
Yes.
different words. Maybe it's not something that I
Yeah,
I
right.
can,
We have to make sure we're talking about
I
brushes.
you know, Paquito de Rivera,
Yes, yes.
the saxophone player. Paquito, we are traveling, and he suggests me a book,
Yes.
and he lent me a book in Spanish, and I start to read the book, and I read all the book, and I realized, man, that's a beautiful book, a beautiful
Yes.
history. I love that.
Yeah.
And at the end of the book, I lost then in a bus and in some travel. I
Yeah.
lost the book, and I brought the Portuguese version.
Oh
And I
man.
realized I realized that I didn't understand anything in the book
Oh
in
man.
Spanish.
So it's a completely different book.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny. Hey, Edu, I just see before I know we're closing soon, but I see this guy Almir wanted to ask about Two Phil here in the comments section.
Yeah. Almir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to know. So I think that's a different. There's a couple of different ways. I mean, there's Two Phil with the sticks, which is basically it's the same. So you have the ride cymbal pattern, which never changes whether you're playing in 4 or 2. That never changes, and the copying doesn't change either. The only thing that I do differently is on the bass drum. I try to accent with the acoustic bass to hear that feel. So instead of the normal feathering, with Two Phil you just break it up. And same thing with brushes. With Two Phil, I don't change anything that I would do with 4/4. I'm just accenting with the bass drum. So it's the same thing. Hope that helps, Almir. I just wanted to make sure we got to that.
Ah, it helped me.
Okay.
It helps me.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
Ulysses.
yes.
Open Studio is saying that gets 15%
Oh, nice.
off Edu and Ulysses course at Open Studio at the link in description. Yes, and man, I have to say that I will repeat that I'm impressed with all the good things that you are doing with your
Thank you.
career, your life with your music, your life
you.
with the music, your connections, connections with the music, your hard work with to music, and your sharing your life, your good things with the people. Thank you for that, brother. That's
Thank you,
amazing.
Edu. And I would say the same for you, man. I think that clearly you're an incredible ambassador, for your country and your music, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And man, I'm loving what I'm hearing from your students. Your students were so kind, and they all played with this really special kind of thing. Like it was very. I can't put it into words, but it was this spiritual commitment to the music that every one of your students had on the bandstand when I saw them at Juilliard. And I know that is only possible when you have an instructor imparting that into them. So same to you, brother.
Oh man, thank you for that. I will tell it for them, and they are going to love that.
They're
Thank
special,
you for
man.
that, and I love that too. Hey Ulysses,
Yes.
man, such a great pleasure to
Thank
be
you.
with
Same.
you. A great honor to be here, and I hope you have a great day, a great
Yes.
week, a great month,
Yes.
great year, and
Yes.
great life, man. I hope to see you very soon, man.
Yes, I'm coming to Brazil. I want to study with you. Take me around. I want to hear all the great Brazilian masters. I'm serious. I will come. I want to sit for at least a week, and I want to sit at your feet and eat some great food and meet some great people.
We have to do the
So-
same.
okay.
I have to do it in US too. We
Yes.
have to do the same. We have to share.
So you come to
pleasure.
Florida, I go to Brazil.
Great deal.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Ulysses,
Cool, brother.
thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank
and,
you, man.
And thank you everybody that
Yes.
watching us today. Thank you for the attention here.
Thank you. Open Studio Network, thank you also.
Yeah, Open Studio, Rachel, everybody.
Thank you.
Beijo.
Thank you, brother.
Tchau.